Well, good Wednesday evening to you here. Chris Hare, the Crypto Cowboy, bringing you another nightly update. And I'm going to start out with a pretty stern warning tonight. A lot going on. There's some big decisions being made. We saw that yesterday, but we're going to get into the charts. We're going to break that down. And I'm going to give you some longer term targets tonight. And I think those will be pretty interesting. Stick around to the end. I always give some kind of trade tips or something that's going on that I might want to talk about tonight. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the charts tonight. We've got a lot to cover, but I am a world champion rodeo cowboy, and I'm taking what I've learned in the arena and bringing it to the crypto desk to make you guys world champion crypto traders. But we're going to start off tonight with the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Currently, we're at a 28. Yesterday, we were at 29. So we've gone down just a little bit. Not surprised with the pullback that we've had. If you get into last week, we were at a 32, and then last month we were at a 40. But what I'll tell you, and I tell you this every night, the very best times to buy crypto are when we're in fear. You can see every single time we go into fear, we have some kind of launch out. Fear, launch out. We waffled around, launched out. But when we went to extreme fear, it was a really good time to buy. We went on that huge run over the summer, so it was a really good time to buy. But yeah, so we're in fear again. We've came down. I'm not sure that we don't hit extreme fear before this is all over with. Market sentiment's pretty bad, and that dump today really scared a lot of people again. And I'm not sure that it's quite over yet. But we'll go on to a altcoin season index. I noticed it came up today actually it went to 25 yesterday, and now we're at 27. So there's been some money move around. I just wonder if that's not people pulling out of Bitcoin a little bit. As the market goes down and people that are in alts are just kind of stuck there, so they're holding on for right now. What we need to see is this go up into these lighter and darker blues, just like last month we hit a 70, and then way back in December when we had that big run, we were up in the 80s, around 87. Moving on, we'll go to a Bitcoin liquidation heat map. This is off the weekly. And what this is, it shows everybody's liquidation points. So if you're long right now, you're these bright areas somewhere in here. And if you're short, you're up here somewhere. I think our short's right up here in this area. So you can see we're really out of trouble for any kind of chance of liquidation at this point for right now. But cumulatively, going down on the long side, we've got 2.13 billion worth of longs. And you get up top 1.51. I think that's what the market makers have been doing the past several days. A couple of days is just letting these longs pile in so they can push this down a little more. And now there's an imbalance. So I think that relates into the charts. It's going to show you that we're kind of exhausted here. We'll start off with the Bitcoin 4-hour. I think it's the most relevant right now because Bitcoin is driving the boat. And you can see we went all the way up to 113, almost 114,000 yesterday, and just flat rejected off the 200 smooth moving average. So what this red line does is it takes 200 of these candles, puts a fluid line on the chart, and they work as amazing support and resistance. The white line is the 50 smooth moving average on the 4-hour. We lost that. We lost the simple moving average. So the smooth average, I think, basically takes a composite of the exponential moving average, the simple moving average, and it combines them, and you end up with a different type of line. But you can see we've lost that. We've lost the daily 50. And we've got a lot of resistance to get through to get up to 116 or 121,000. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying it's unlikely. I still have this target area marked here, right at $105,000, $106,000. Kind of our last line of hope. You see we've tapped it twice, bounced off of it, keep trying to break it, but I think it's going to eventually give. The more times you tap on these things, the weaker they get. And I think we're going to just crash on down, probably head to these lower targets. Now then, here's where it gets interesting. I've got this marked. This is the weekly simple moving average. And when we get out on a weekly chart, this is going to make a lot more sense. But it's sitting at about 102,580 tonight. Every time this run, Bitcoin has bounced off of that. So it raises the question, is this where we bounce? It would make sense to an extent, but if you do your measurements, it really wants to come down to 197,000. When we get in the daily chart, I'll show you where the smooth moving average is, down around 85,000. So, but I want to watch this real close. I think one of two things happens here. We either bounce and we take off to the upside and we're off to the races, or we bounce, make a bigger run, maybe back up to this 50-cent smooth moving average and dump there. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't have a good read on it yet. We really need to see what happens, especially right here, and then how hard we push down. But it's something to keep an eye on, definitely. I mean, that's probably the most hope we've had in about a week and a half. Moving on to the daily. Let me pull it up. I've already got it set up here. There you go. I've left two things on here. I've left the moon phases on. Like I said, every time you get a full moon, it seems like we get a pump. You get a new moon, we get a dump. And it's just rinse and repeat. I don't know if you can depend on the accuracy of these completely, but they're right 80 to 90% of the time, so I keep up with it. Moving on, though, you can see we're back down in our daily golden zone. We just rejected the top side of it right around 108.5. And so we're going to work our way on down here. This is why I think that we probably have more downside. This is a wave 1, 2, 3. If you go by Elliott wave theory, this is wave 4. We've still got a wave 5 in the tank, and usually they take on the shape of wave 1. It's arguable here because of this wick, and that's what's got me kind of thrown off here. I think so. I just don't know. I don't know where we are structure wise with this. I have a pretty good idea that we've been in a consolidative correction. Now we're in an ABC, and that's very technical, and I won't do that very often, but it kind of relays what my thinking is in my head. If that's the case, we do have an opportunity to double bottom here right on 102.5. And if we lose that, then we're thinking about 97,000 on down to the daily extension between 90 and 80. The weekly 50 smooth moving average sits at 84,000 right now. I think it's going to take, if we get there, it's going to take a couple to a few weeks to get there. So as it works down, this moves up, and then we get into the bottom of this trend line. That's where I'm at tonight. What I think is from this halfway point right here, I think you've got to move just as big as we've already had. That's going to finish this off, and that's going to put us down in those target areas. But that's where I am for tonight. There's an opportunity. We need to pay really close attention to it. And honestly, I'll probably close my trades out, or at least take 50% profit right there at about 103,000 and play it from there. If we make some checkpoints, I'll close those trades. Consider longs as we cross the 50 daily moving average. Moving out to the weekly, just so we can talk about those upper end targets that I mentioned in the first of the video. Like I said, the higher we bounce, the higher our upwards targets are going to be. But the shorter amount of time it's probably going to take to get there. If we don't, we come on down. We test out the weekly golden zone. Not a big deal. I think there's another move up. I think your first move up is to around 135, 136,000. Like we've talked about in these pennants, they like to fill out about 70%. And I think $150,000 is realistic, maybe more. But that's where I am with Bitcoin tonight. I think that covers a lot of things. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and we just need to watch these moves really close. We're either getting close to a bottom or we're getting ready to dump considerably more. That's kind of where I am tonight. If we go back to liquidation heat maps, pull up Ethereum, you can see kind of the same story. Lots of long liquidations all the way down to about $3,600 to the tune somewhere of around 540 million. You go to the top side up to about 4,200. There's 1.38 billion. So there is some liquidations here. There's a big pocket right here about 38.83. They may want to go after that, but I think the consensus still is down. Moving into the charts, let's go ahead and pull those up. We'll go out to Ethereum on a 4-hour. Let me get my mouse over there. Things just aren't wanting to cooperate tonight. All of these charts are posted in the Crypto School. You'll find a link to that in my description. But it's a good thing. Lots of good coaches there. We do a lot of things together. We talk about a lot of things. We argue about a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we're all there to do well and win. But anyway, getting into the 4-hour chart here, you can see we're pulling back. Let me move this box over so it doesn't fade those candles quite as much. There we go. We're in our 4-hour golden zone. We're in that target I talked about. We've lost it once. We just retested the top side and we're losing it. I really feel like we're headed on down to these lower targets, 35.61, 34.13 or so. Like I said, I think what's happening is we've got this big move. We've consolidated, and I think another big move similar to this is left in the tank. There is a possibility we bounce here, fill out about 70–80% of that wick, and head on up. If we can get out of this weekly target, get out of this 4-hour golden zone, we've still got the 50 SMA, the 50 smooth, the 200 smooth, and the top of this channel to get out of. Now, the past few nights, I've said we have to break out of this channel. The further we get in this time frame, you can see this top line comes down. So then you get optimism that you can get above it, you can retest, get up in your 4-hour golden zone, hold it, consolidate, then move out. That's why I've said that for so many days in a row, and that's why I'm kind of lightening up on that, because there is a little daylight between that golden zone and the top of this channel. So just like Bitcoin, we need to be really frosty here. We need to pay attention to these moves very close. I will update during the day if anything goes different. But we're either getting, like I said, we're either getting close or we're just about to dump again. Going out to the daily, still in this big descending channel. That's bullish. We'll break out of it at some point. The question is where. Currently sitting in the daily golden zone right now between $3,900, $3,700. We've tested the top of it several times, can't get through it. So I think the next move is down to test out the bottom of the channel. I think your first test is going to be around $3,390. As this 200 smooth moving average comes across, it's going to fall in here about $3,220. That's where I'm at on that. But I want to pull up something, and we're going to go back to the daily chart because I want to see our weekly moving averages, our 50s, are right around $3,160. If we go back on a chart, on the daily chart, to see exactly where that falls, it falls right on that 200 moving average. This may be our bounce point, guys. We can see that they've lost it before and it's gone down, but we have a lot of support here. So we're looking at a bounce point of about $3,200. That's going to line up with the bottom of the channel by the time it gets there. That makes me wonder if we even do hit these when we hit the bottom of the channel. Daily moving average is inside the channel. So if you can get over that, get out of that, we're headed north, guys. 4,400 to about 4,700 would be your first stop. Your extensions sit at 5,500 to about 6,000. Bitcoin can hit 150,000. I don't think there's any reason Ethereum can't hit 8,000 as well. So yeah, it's been ugly, but I think we're seeing the light at the end of a tunnel. It may take us a few days to a couple of weeks to get there, but I think we're headed in the right direction. Like I said, weekly target here, $3,100. Your 50 EMA is going to line up right there. Your 50 smooth moving average is right below it, around $3,000. I think that's where we bounce. I don't think we go much lower. It lines up with the bottom of this descending channel, sets us up for a breakout. That's exciting, guys. I'm really optimistic. But there you go. That covers everything in detail tonight. I wasn't doom and gloom like I usually am, and that's a good thing, I think. I'm going to have to watch these close. I'm kind of getting a little excited about that. Looks really good tonight. I kind of look at them, but when I go to explain them to you guys, that's when I really see what's happening and what's going on. So here we are. We're talking about some upside now, and that's good. Downside gets boring. People don't like when I talk downside. I have to tell you guys it might go up. And this time it really might go up. So that's good. Trade ideas tonight. People ask a lot about my stop losses when I take these trades. So when I get into these trades, it's usually at the top or a bottom of a 4-hour or a daily peak. What I like to do is I like to go down to the 1 hour. I like to gauge it off of there. Once we break out or break down from the 50 moving averages, that's where I take my trade. I put the stop loss above or below it. It seems to work out pretty well for me. And it takes a lot of risk out of it. 1% of the trade, that's all I use. We've talked about that. You get 100 tries to get it wrong. Even if you do 2%, you're still at 50 tries. And we talked about this in the crypto school today in my coach's page, that over the last 9 days, we've lost one trade. So all of these 1% trades that I make, they're compounding. The trades over the last day or two, they're over 100%. So I'm making good money. And as you take the next trade, that 1% is just a little more of your margin. The next one is just a little more of your margin. And that compounds over time. And Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not going to make $1 million overnight. It's extra risky to try to do that. I've done it. I've gotten lucky. I put $500 in a meme coin called Schwampu one time and cashed out for over $300,000. It happens, but it's not likely. And I've never had that happen again, once in the 4 or 5 years I've traded. So there you have it. And that was a spot buy. It wasn't even leveraged. So yeah, I mean, I could have lost everything, but it wasn't as bad as if you're leveraged up on something like that and it goes the wrong way. But yeah, I've got another couple videos coming out for you tomorrow, one on Aster, one on ICP. You're not going to want to miss those. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, tap that bell notification. You'll get updates as soon as we upload a video. And please, please, please leave us a comment. I enjoy reading them. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and I can't thank you enough for that. But I'm going to wrap it up tonight. I've said enough already. Look for those videos tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about those. But I'm Chris Hare, the multiple-time world champion team roper, and we'll see you down the road.